Hello, welcome. Today we are looking at bizarre proof that we are living in a movie.
Our world is completely falling into chaos. Protests, riots, police brutality, martial...
Alright, hang on, my first problems already. Our world is falling into chaos, is very ethnocentric, is very human-centric. If you think about the world, no it's not. It will fall into chaos if it blew up. It will fall into chaos when the sun goes supernova. It will fall into chaos during the next ice age. Do you think the forests in Australia, when the forest fires come whirring through, do the trees look at each other and go, oh my god, the world's falling into chaos? And if they did, do you think you'd give a shit? So do you think the other 98% of the, no, 99.999% of the biota on this planet is really giving a shit? No, that your perception of human culture is something that's falling into chaos. There is no world falling into chaos. Right, next.
Law, insanity spreads. As the world slips into insanity, all the people of planet Earth are looking for a hero.
Who's looking for a hero? If a hero even tried to be a hero, all we would do is sit and take the piss out of them. That's what humans do. No, we're not looking for a hero. That's some Hollywood bullshit. You've watched too many movies. No, we're not looking for a hero. It would be pretty cool if we had some decent stand-up guys in politics who would tell the truth. That would be nice. We're not looking for a fucking hero.
As cultures clash, as cultures crash, all eyes in the world are focused on the White House.
Well, you say that because you're American. I've already identified you as ethnocentric. You totally are.
And on Obama. And as all this chaos coalesces, this is what they see.
Really? As all this chaos coalesces, they see a black woman with green lipstick. Are you sure about this? Bear in mind, this video is called Bizarre Proof that we are living in a movie.
You know, I'm always saying that the veil is lifting, that we're seeing more of the spiritual actually manifest here in this reality.
Dude, if you looked at quantum physics, you would see the veil lifted all the fucking time. Consciousness affects, or the observer affects what is being observed. Particles wink in and out of existence. You're going to say something really fucking dumb in a minute, and it's annoying because there's real things to be awestruck about on this planet, and you're just going to make up some dumb shit, and I can feel it coming.
I think this right here is a pretty good example of that. I don't know if you heard about this or not. This happened in Tennessee recently, just a few days ago. And there was a mother who was following the school bus, and she noticed that the lights are actually pentagrams on the back of the bus.
Brilliant.
And she brought this up to the school board, and she was never really given an answer why. They said, oh, well, maybe they just did it on accident, or they just kind of placed the stars in there, or whatever. But there was no real answer why. The reason why is most people probably don't know why it happened. I do believe that things like this can be examples of the spiritual manifesting here in the physical.
It's so fucking pointless. What is manifesting pentagrams on the back of a school bus, and for what reason? What element of communication could that possibly be? Fuck it. You've sent a message, nobody's seen it or understood it, everybody's perplexed. Brilliant. It was pointless. Even if it's real, it's pointless.
And this isn't the only one. I've showed this in many other videos in the past as well. But oftentimes I'll show you kind of the negative things that are manifesting here in the physical. But sometimes we can see things from the other side as well. This stunning photo here was taken just a few days back.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
And it was actually shared with the U.S. National Weather Service. And of course, first thing they said is, that's just ice crystals.
Dude, but don't, before you go one step further. Water is like the most miraculous substance on the planet. It is absolutely essential for life. Given what we know about forces and atoms and stuff like that, at room temperature, water should be a vapor. It is genuinely miraculous. It's the only substance. You know, as things, we have this idea that as a vapor, something is light and airy. As a solid, it is quite chunky and heavy, and as a liquid, it's somewhere in between. And water freezes The ice sits on top. That's not even, that shouldn't even happen to any fucking substance. It shouldn't be less dense as it turns into a solid. Water is amazing, and it has real ramifications for sea life and for rivers and ponds and stuff like this. We've got all the things that couldn't work if water didn't have this bizarre ice floating element about it. Now, actually, at a certain temperature, the ice does start to sink, but almost at regular winter temperatures, you're more likely to find it floating. Right, what are you going to say? It's not enough. This is what gets me. It's not enough. There's not enough awe in the world for you. You're not amazed by this miraculous stuff. It's right there in your picture. The most amazing stuff on the planet. And you're looking at this because it's particularly pretty and appeals to your aesthetic values, and you're going to try and say it's beyond this world. Winding me up.
And that makes sense. I mean, that's what these organizations do, right? They're not going to sit here and try to look into the ethereal or the other side of these things.
Well, I'm sorry that they didn't create the Department of Ethereal Atmospheric Appearances, but you've contacted a scientific department to find out about this, and they didn't say, oh, we think it's the veil lifting, and you're not happy with the answer.
It's always the scientific explanation.
It fucking would be!
But when I see something like this, it's truly miraculous. This doesn't happen all the time.
Water happens all the time, mate. Miracles are ongoing on this planet. You can't fucking see them because you're such a numpty.
Crystals are always there. But we're not always getting pictures like this. Think about it. When I see things like this, I see a glimpse of the heavenlies. I see a glimpse of the realms above.
It's in the eye of the beholder, mate, honestly.
I think it's beautiful. I think it gives us hope.
It is beautiful, but you're making shit up about it, and you're actually detracting from the beauty. It's a cherry blossom on the river, and nobody knows where it came from or where it's going to go. It's a moment of sheer beauty created by atmospheric conditions. It's like a sand painting. It'll be gone in a minute, and probably hardly anybody will see it. Even people might be walking underneath it, worried about their everyday shit. It's a miracle of, once you look into it, of staggering significance and insignificance. You're just going to say there's an angel in this fucking sky now, aren't you?
When I see images like this happened in Iceland not long ago, and it was in the Aurora Borealis. But take a look at that image right there, and I don't think it takes a lot of imagination to see what I'm seeing.
That's because it vaguely resembles a human shape. What if we weren't shaped like humans? What if we looked more like a monkey or an ant? I'm sure they do every now and again. Asshole.
Do you ever feel like you're actually living in a science fiction movie? Some of you probably feel like you're living in a horror movie with some of the things we uncover.
Dude, isn't life itself a miracle? How much worse would it be if you weren't actually alive to witness this stuff? How much did you pay to get into this life? Do you want your money back? Is there a problem with the miracle of life itself and being able to witness and experience everything? Do you need to add something else? What is it? What's the problem?
But I'm genuinely surprised sometimes at just how much science fiction melds into our reality. And this story right here is a case in point.
Oh, dude. Science fiction is, basically it's fantasy set in the future, so of course there'll be reflections of life and vice versa. Sometimes they'll nail it. Well, they were making Star Trek The Next Generation, and they said we're going to have computers without buttons. We're just going to have people pressing the screens. That was before. That was a fair few years before iPads and stuff like this. And one of the producers said, this is unthinkable, it's too futuristic, it's even unlikely. But the other guys got their way, and they put in the flat screens and the touchpads and all this. And it was within years, I think it was like 3 or 4 years before the first touchscreen technology came along, and they're like, fuck me, it moves a lot faster than we realise. Sometimes sci-fi nails it, sometimes sci-fi nails it, and it's there tomorrow sort of thing, and sometimes sci-fi is fucking out of it, it's stuff that we'll never have. So it will be reflected in life, and life will reflect sci-fi back.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right, bear in mind while he goes through this shite, this is supposed to be proof, bizarre proof that we are living in a movie. Go on, mate, make your claim.
Is real?
Was that Israel as in Israel? Were you saying Israel there? Are you sort of planting Zionism stuff? Have you got a political point to make?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a 1956
No.
American film, science fiction film. It was directed by Don Siegel, and the film was actually adapted to screenplay from a novel by Jack Finney. It was a 1954 science fiction novel called The Body Snatchers. The story depicts an extraterrestrial invasion of sorts that takes place in a small California town.
The synopsis for Invasion of the Body Snatchers just goes on and on here. I'm going to whiz him forward a little bit.
And that's pretty much the gist of these body snatcher type movies. It's interesting because at the time a lot of people had assumed that the movie was an allegory for McCarthyism, that the pods represented this creeping communism in the country. If you go back and you read some of the interviews with the actual original author, there was never anything like that intended. And once the filmmakers got a hold of it, they considered doing that, but they didn't want to go too preachy. They just wanted to make something kind of entertaining. However, this idea of this growing, creeping, unstoppable kind of hive mind has been around for a very, very long time.
I'm not even sure what you're talking about anymore. What? It's not proof. It's not even speculation. It's just words about sci-fi. Come on.
Somewhere deep in our human subconscious mind, this is something that connects with us. And just to show you how deeply that this whole kind of idea resonates with us, they've actually remade this film a few times. This right here is from the 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This one's really scary.
Right, okay, the point being, Invasion of the Body Snatchers resonates with us so much that they made the film a few different times. How many times have you seen Batman's parents shot? Seriously, how many recuts of that have you seen? Does it resonate with us so deeply?
They remade it again in '93 with Body Snatchers, The Invasion Continues. And they remade it again in 2007 with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. And this one was called The Invasion.
And it was a fucking blockbuster, wasn't it? It resonated with us so deeply that it was the greatest selling movie of all time, and it swept the boards at the Oscars. No, man, it was just a banal, crappy reboot of an old movie.
The idea still remains that there is this force out there. It is a...
What idea? What idea? This idea still remains. A lot of ideas still remains, but they don't constitute bizarre proof that we are living in a movie.
Dark force. It is unstoppable, and it assimilates everything in its path.
You know what? You know what voodoo is? Voodoo is basically a religion kind of designed to assuage dark forces. The dark forces being the jungle with all its parasites and carnivores and all this kind of shit, the temperatures and the diseases. It's a primitive, tribal, I suppose, religion designed to keep the monsters at bay, to keep the badness at bay. Now you can understand that being part of the local psyche with so much threat around. Yes, it will be a part of our psyche if we perceive the threat, but you're kind of inventing the threat to be perceived. That's not how these things work. We enjoy it because it's fantasy. We enjoy the Borg. The Unstoppable Borg is this brilliant idea. Fantastic, let's kick their ass. It's a fairy tale. It's a very sophisticated adult fairy tale that teaches us not just that dragons exist, but that we can beat them. That's all these stories ever do.
This hive mind. It's very much like the Borg from Star Trek. You've ever seen this before? The Borg is the same thing. It's this group that will assimilate you or destroy you. That's your choice. You can either join or you can die. I believe...
Unless you're a major character in one of the franchises, in which case you can actually be rescued and have a few implants taken out.
That this idea of this force that assimilates good people and it turns them into wicked people and all a part of one mind. I believe the reason that...
Well, that would resonate because it's one of our cultural sticking points. If you talk about the Bible identifies 7 deadly sins, your pride and your lust and all this, Eastern religion identifies broadly similar things, and on a personal level, you can kind of say, I'm off balance, I'm psychologically tormented when I'm being driven by lust or greed. When there's something I want so badly that I'm prepared to steal it, or that I'm prepared to kill for it. So yeah, you're off balance, and you're doing things that perhaps you never envisioned yourself doing, things that in hindsight you won't be proud of. And we have a constant human struggle with our own desires, and then our own take on it afterwards, and who we think we are, who we believe we are, what the people around us are doing. These things are very real concerns on a day-to-day basis. Now, it doesn't mean that it's proof that we're living in a movie. It's nothing to do with that.
Resonates so much with us as human beings is, again, it's a part of our history as well. I see all this stuff going back to the fallen angels and the fallen angel agenda.
Jesus Christ. Fine, run with it. Let's see where you're going with this.
Some of you may have seen the movie Prometheus.
It was shit.
The movie Prometheus is filled with mythological references and symbolism that give the movie kind of an underlying esoteric meaning. Now, Prometheus can also be viewed as a metaphor for spiritual illumination, as is portrayed by many occult secret societies. I've done a lot of other videos on this subject before. I've even used Prometheus in a few other videos. It's very important, because this really is a part of that global agenda. This is all part of that New World Order agenda.
What? You know what, I'm going to give you a little bit of slack here, because you basically saying I've covered this in other videos. So for you to make a leap between Bizarre Proof We're Living in a Movie, Prometheus and the New World Order, alright, I need to do my research, I need to do some homework to make sure what you've said about that actually did support this moment. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
It's also a part of the New World Order religion. I do believe there's a big alien deception coming upon humanity.
Well, that's quite a leap as well, really.
And we're being set up for that. And it's movies like Prometheus are part of that setup. I mean, the very opening sequence of the movie shows you where they think we came from. It starts off with this.
So does Battlestar Galactica, so does Babylon 5, so does Star Trek. Actually, no, Star Trek did it the other way around, didn't they? They had the dinosaurs went off-world, and then they come back after they've evolved to look like us. There's lots of stories with these elements in, dude. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of them.
Humanoid, alien-looking type being on the Earth, and he drinks this strange liquid. After drinking the liquid, the alien completely disintegrates, and he falls into the water, at least what's left of him does. And once he's in the water, the DNA triggers a biogenetic reaction, and on a microscopic level, we see single cells beginning to multiply themselves. This is the movie's theory on how human life appeared on the Earth.
No, I didn't actually get that. No, they called those guys engineers, didn't they? And if you're going to read that much into the actual engineering, I suppose that's interesting, but I didn't see it as that. It was, I guess it must have been open to interpretation. No, there might have been a life-seeding sequence, but I didn't actually think he was on Earth, to be honest.
Of course, we have the major propaganda production, Ancient Aliens, on the History Channel. Ancient Aliens is all about preparing the public for their ancient savior.
Dude, your argument is invalid because it makes no fucking sense.
And or saviors. The Great Deception. And of course, it should come as no surprise that it's on the History Channel. Wink, wink. The mind control behind the History Channel itself is very interesting.
Like, the History Channel is so popular. Yeah, you really, if you're going to talk about mind control, indoctrination into cultural abnormality and stuff like that, you're better off looking at Disney. There's about 5 people watching the History. What's this, 13? Is that the number of viewers at the time? They count their own viewers in single figures. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about what the History Channel is doing. And some of it is shit, but then you go, well, that's shit, and forget anyway. You know, when you read something, if you read a book, you will forget 80% of it within 6 weeks. Same with this shit's not hitting home. It doesn't matter what they do on the History Channel. They could be broadcasting fucking epileptic fit-inducing frequencies on the History Channel, and we wouldn't know about it because nobody's fucking watching.
I mean, calling itself the History Channel, automatically you're walking into this assuming that this is real history. We find the same Illuminati symbolism on their logos as we do on so many other things in the entertainment industry.
I have got a slight problem with this Illuminati symbols bollocks. I get it. That is very suspicious that someone's put a pyramid and an all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill. But when you're making a logo for anything, your options are not that great. You mean a triangle? Brilliant. We can use a triangle. We can use a square. We can use a circle. Beyond that, you're looking at weird, fucked up shapes that don't really create a good impression when you first see them. Plus, like, most shapes are made out of those anyway. A few angles and a few blocks. This H has got all kinds of squares and triangles on it. The actual language itself, our bloody letters have got these same basic shapes on them. It's very easy to read into any logo that it's got an Illuminati element to it.
That are really only set out there to deceive us. Animal Planet and History Channel, it's all the same company. And it's interesting because right here in the Animal Planet logo, you see how they hid the 13. And the 13 goes back to the 13 Illuminati bloodlines. And they really are telling you the truth here. They are telling you your history right here. But it's interesting because the History Channel itself is a mix of real occult esoteric knowledge that most people aren't even going to see coming, and then a lot of made-up stuff, the created history, the fabricated history. Which brings us to this very interesting story that recently came out. Is this picture a seed sent to Earth by aliens? Scientists discover a mysterious organism. Check this out. This astonishing picture of an organism found in space has baffled scientists.
I don't think there's much bafflement about stuff like this. When we very first started getting stuff from, I suppose you'd call it the outer atmosphere, from low Earth orbit, somebody said that right back then in the 60s, 70s, this space dust looks like desiccated bacteria. That's where this panspermia theory came from, the theory that bacteria just kind of drifts around space, and if it can live long enough, if it can survive an orbital drop entering the atmosphere, then that could explain how life spreads throughout the known universe, if it does. And then they further developed that theory to say that life could arrive on comets or inside comets, blah blah blah, that entire insects could travel, which seemed a bit far-fetched, seemed to be taking the theory too far. But this theory of panspermia is not a new thing. And if you're saying this is an organism we think has come from another planet, and it's baffled scientists, well, no, it won't baffle scientists. It won't even baffle people who were mildly interested in the subject, because we've come across this idea before.
It's a seed sent to the Earth by aliens. The never-before-seen image shows a microscopic metal globe spewing out biological material feared to be an infectious agent. Though the origin or purpose of the mysterious sphere is uncertain, experts say it could contain genetic material, the precursor to life. They sensationally claim it could have been designed by an intelligent species to seed and propagate alien life on Earth.
Now that is fascinating. That's brilliant. That's something to get excited about if this shit's true.
It is the first time anything like this has been seen, and points not only to the existence of extraterrestrial life, but to complex and civilized beings watching our planet. It follows findings that DNA capable of inserting itself into living creatures and replicating can exist.
Dude, do you know what a virus does? A virus attaches itself to certain parts of a human cell. It injects nasty shit into it, basically, but the virus uses the DNA on the inside of the cell to recreate itself. That's why viruses multiply in the body. That's why you get really fucking ill. Your antibodies, your white blood cells and your antibodies kick them in eventually. It just takes a bit of time. But that's what a virus does. So if you're saying this organism can spew its DNA into something else and transform it, blah blah blah, well, we've got stuff on here, the planet that already does that. A lot of it. The common cold is done like this.
Harsh space conditions. The latest findings by Professor Milton Wainwright and his team from the University of Sheffield and the University of Buckingham Center for Astrobiology could actually reveal a much more sinister purpose, conjuring images as warned by H.G. Wells in his 1898 novel War of the Worlds. It could have been deliberately engineered and sent to the Earth to infect the planet.
And given enough time, we'd grow our own defences to it anyway. Our immune systems would sort this shit out.
One theory is that it was sent to the Earth by some unknown civilization in order to continue seeding the planet with life. This seeming piece of science fiction, called directed panspermia, would probably not be taken seriously by any scientist were it not for the fact that it was very seriously suggested by the Nobel Prize winner of DNA fame, Sir Francis Crick. It all sounds vaguely familiar, right? The body snatchers. Here comes the hive mind. There's no stopping it.
What the fuck? What the fuck? You've done it again. Let's talk about the... Let's say this guy's head is all the knowledge that we know, and the sphere of knowledge continually grows because, like, there's some guy over here who's an expert in animation, and he's developed this new fucking shit hot technique, and it's a new thing in our experience. Some guy over here has developed a new theory about worms. Some guy, and he's proved it true. Some guy over here has found a piece of a globule of crap that is spewing out what did you call it, a toxic agent, and he suggested it might be evidence of directed panspermia. Now that's now in our circle of knowledge. That doesn't mean you leap to crazy conclusions of it. It might be true. He might be onto something. But in terms of let's find out, you don't just add your own shit onto it and make up a load of crap and tie it into a book that was written 50 years ago or whatever. You just look for more evidence. You look at the evidence we have got. Okay, we've got base stuff that looks like desiccated bacteria. Let's have another look at that. Let's look at what's actually out there. Let's pull some more fucking samples. Let's go to Mars. Let's get the Orion project up and running. See if we can find some more fucking cells and some more evidence. Because if you're looking at this directed panspermia theory, brilliant, you've added a theory to the scientific lexicon, and it's as valid as any other that hasn't been proved or disproved. But you leave it as what it is. Don't just make up your bullshit and bolt it on and get all hysterical about it.
Also, that connection to the fallen angels, that connection to this alien hybridization.
Oh, fallen angels. Like, are we talking about Bronze Age Palestinian myths now? That's worse than talking about invasion of the body snatchers to support what you think is the correct scientific theory, is the correct hypothesis for where life on Earth came from.
Of our species. So that's why I thought it was interesting to
now I can see the proof. I can see the proof now.
Connection here to the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You can see right here, it's almost like they did kind of a wink and a nod to that human-animal hybridization. So right here you have the dog man. Crazy stuff, right?
I honestly don't even know what to say about that.
We really are living in a science fiction movie.
Yeah, that was bizarre proof that we are living in a movie. Dude, that was nothing about living in a movie. The movie hypothesis is like, you know, when you download music, stick it on your hard drive and you're like, shit, what is that? A bunch of electromagnetic bips and bobs, and it's taking up hardly any space. Well, when I had that on my CD, that took up loads of space. When I had it on my vinyl record, that took up loads of space. When I had it on my tape cassette, that took up loads of space. The further back you go, the more space it took up. And we get to the point, if you pan forward, you go, actually, if you downloaded human civilization into a virtual space, we wouldn't take up any room. So then you go, well, what's to say that that hasn't already happened? And then you go, wow, we might be living in a movie. That would be you're living in a movie hypothesis, or something similar to that. Not, I watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I think this cell came from another world. Directed panspermia might be a reality in our universe. Therefore, we are living in a movie. It doesn't even make sense. There isn't a logical argument here at all, let alone proof. Right, fuck off. And now I'm gonna look. This guy's got. But this has pissed me off, man. 861,000 views for that. Come on, come on. You're encouraging him. Right, when I get my 500 views that I tend to get as standard, I hope everyone will sort of see this shit for what it is. This is a B-rate movie. This really is a B-rate movie. Get out of here. Buck.